Hey, Betsy, how you going?
I am getting well, I will say. We in our house caught coronavirus for the first time in 3 years, and I'm on the up, so I will say I'm getting well today.
Okay, that's good. Yeah, so welcome, Betsy, to the podcast. So, first question is, what do you do?
Hello, I am a financial coach. So, what a financial coach is someone who helps you understand the way that you think and behave with money, and then couples that with some really sound financial education so that you can create financial well-being for yourself that is lifelong and sustainable. That's what I do.
Okay, and what are you passionate about?
I am really passionate about helping people understand themselves and money so that they can really just take control of their life and live a life by design of their choosing, of their making, rather than by default or because of circumstances. So I really just love empowering people to make the most out of their financial resources and kind of live life with a bit of purpose and, of course, prosperity.
Awesome. These are good answers. And the last one of the intro, what do you want to be known for?
I want to be known as someone who really changed the way that money was viewed, and made it really accessible to everyone, financial education accessible to everyone, and enabled them to really make the most of their financial resources. I think historically, for women in particular, the world of finance has been very much exclusive and not something that they felt they had access to. And I think for everyone, the world of finance has really lent on, using complicated terms, lots of jargon, and made it feel like it was something that you couldn't understand unless you engaged the help of a professional. And that's just rubbish, actually. Like, if you got through grade 8 math, you have all of the smarts within you to understand money and financial concepts. And with that education, you can do so much to optimize the money that you have in your life, the money that you earn, how it's invested, and really create a lot of freedom for yourself. So that was a long answer,
That's a
obviously.
good answer. The point that stuck out to me most is the part you talked about females being restricted in the knowledge, I guess, for years. But I think there's like a resurgence. Like it seems like is like they've catapulted now. Like it seems like so many females are getting involved and wanting to know.
Ladies have entered the arena. Actually, it's true, and the data shows us that particularly millennial and Gen Z women are taking are really starting to sit in the driver's seat when it comes to household finances and really take the lead on a lot of the financial decisions that are getting made. Which is very different if you look at the previous generations, where it was these kind of decisions and that kind of role of family financial officer, defaulted to the men in the family, if you're in a traditional relationship. So, and I think it's because women are having a very different experience to that of their mothers and grandmothers. They're having longer, more successful careers. They're earning more than ever before. We've also got this huge intergenerational wealth transfer happening, where women are owning and controlling more assets. And as a result, they're like, okay, I want to engage with and understand this money thing. And the other good thing is that we've got a lot more role models that are women in the world of finance. It's no longer the boys' club that it once was. And what research shows us is that women in particular, they want to learn from other women. They want to learn from someone who understands the complexity of women's financial lives, because women, we tend to live longer. On average, we earn less, we tend to invest less, and because of that, that often means that we have achieved like lower financial outcomes than our male peers. But there's a big tide of women and individuals looking to change that. So yeah, it's definitely an exciting time. The ladies have entered the arena.
Yeah, and I think you said that the other day. That yeah, ladies. If the financial advice as a wanted to extend their bandwidth and service more people, they would have to be more comfortable or more targeting their sort of marketing and their things around ladies as well, not just like around men, because there was something interesting you mentioned the other day about that.
Yeah, well, just the changing face of wealth in Australia and globally. And if your traditional financial services firm doesn't mindfully audit the language of their marketing, their promotional collateral, and even the makeup of your team, you will be missing out on this huge cohort of eager individuals looking for advice, looking to use financial services. And so you're basically leaving money on the table as an organization. And there's just so much work to be done because brands that sort of typically sort of think that they've got a very like gender neutral branding and collateral, they more often than not skew male in the language and the colors and the things like that. And even take financial planning, for example, the number of female financial planners is less than 26%, and it's been that way for like 10 years. It hasn't grown. And again, you've got all of these women who are now taking the charge of their financial lives, seeking advice, and they don't want to talk to their dad's financial planner. They want someone who sounds like them, looks like them, and understands them as well. So there's a really big opportunity there.
Yeah,
Financial services.
that's great. So how important is understanding money?
I think it's one of those fundamental life skills that we all need to have because you think about it, money really influences so much in our lives. We really can't survive without it in the way that we organize and shape our society. So it influences where we live, where we work, the food we eat, the places we travel to, the people that we spend time with, the choices that we make around education. And it really is just a tool. It is a currency and a conduit for activities. But because it's so essential to our survival in the way that we organize society, it's often attached with a lot of emotion and feelings around self-worth. And so being able to really understand what it is and how it works in the world and how to optimize it is like, a catapult for success, for freedom, for living life on your own terms.
Great, that's a great answer. So what would you say to someone looking to dip their toe into the world of financial literacy or understanding money better?
Yeah, well, I hope everyone does this. First of all, I would start with observing your relationship with money and kind of understanding what are you really good at and what works for you when it comes to money, and then what are the things that are challenging you, and just having some awareness around that. The second thing I would do is spend some time drafting and setting some really exciting goals because, like I said before, money's not the goal. It's not about saving $5,000. That's like, I mean, whoop-de-doo, that's kind of nice, but what's it for? What it's for is, in this example, you know, ensuring that you've got enough cash set aside so that if something unexpected happens, be it having to fix the car or having to take time off work to look after your health, you've got money there that can support you until you can go back to working and earning money again. And it's that, and that gives you agency over your life. It gives you security, and that's the thing that matters. So setting goals that are related to money, but actually are goals that are going to help you get closer to living the life that you desire. With those in place, that's going to give you a really good idea of what to do with your money, how much you need to save, how might you be investing. But the second thing is it's going to give you a really good motivator for staying on track, because a bit like dieting, when we start or a new fitness regime, we all start out really enthusiastic, and then 2 days in, a week in, a month in, that enthusiasm has waned, and if we don't have a good compelling reason to keep going, then we usually fall off the bandwagon. Same thing happens for our money. So having those really good compelling goals. And then the third thing I would do is find a source of education that really resonates with you. So, once upon a time, to learn about money, you might go to the library and pick up a book, or you'd have to go and chat to a financial professional. But today there is an abundance of financial education available, and it can be from traditional financial services like your Morning Stars or something like that, or there's podcasts. There's so many finance podcasts out there. There's great books, there's YouTube channels. I will say though, check that whomever you're learning from has some credibility and some qualifications in the field, because there is a little bit of a tendency for just like any Tom, Dick, or Harry to get on social media and be like, I'm really good with money, follow me. And they might not have the qualifications to be giving advice. So, always get it from someone who is trained and educated and is a professional in the field.
I just noticed that Beta Shares actually just made a course that people can use. Like
There's so many out there. Like, one of my favorite resources is Money Smart, and it's a government-made education platform with tools, resources, calculators, teaching you about money. And the thing with like it coming from the government is that it's just there to educate you. No one's trying to sell you anything. So I really like that one, because it's so great that Beta Shares has a course available, but obviously they're going to want you to
for sure.
using their platform and investing with them. So it's a little bit of an agenda-driven thing. Money Smart's independent.
Yeah, cool. I haven't even used that resource before. I'll make sure I check it out.
That's so good. They've even got a guide on like how to financially prepare to buy a puppy. They've thought of everything.
Yeah, I've used like their calculators and stuff, but I've never read any of the content there.
The calculator's good.
So, what or who influenced you to start learning about money?
I think it was life. Life especially. No, but growing up, my mum separated from my dad and moved to a town with my brothers and I, and went back to work. Originally, we grew up on a farm. My dad stayed on the farm, and mum moved to the city to kind of get work and be closer to schools as well. So for her, she was coming back into the workforce after 10 years off raising kids and working on the farm. And, she's now a single parent. She's got to work full time. She's got to buy a house, she's got to buy a car, she's got to put 3 kids through school. And one of that could have been really challenging. And in fact, it still was really hard for mum. But one thing that really helped her was that she was very financially literate. She was mindful of, what was her committed expenses. How often did she need to work to make money? What did it cost to buy a house? What did she need to be doing to paying that house off? And just was really good at making sound decisions along the way. And that whilst it wasn't easy, she did manage to keep a job, pay off a house, always pay cash for her cars, put 3 kids through semi-private schools, the Catholic kind, and then retire at age 65 with enough money saved and invested to ensure that she could be an independent retiree for the rest of her days, which is phenomenal considering she's working as a nurse.
To that point, like, do you think that she had, it was like natural, or was it something that she learned along the way?
I think it was a little bit of, she had a natural curiosity. It was also survival. Like, if she didn't make the money work, like, kids went hungry, didn't go to school, there wasn't a roof over our head. So it was kind of like imperative. So she figured this out.
Did you have read books like about it back then, or was it something someone had passed on to her? Or
that's a good question. I don't know for a fact, but one thing I do remember very strongly is that the super fund that she was invested with used to do all these information sessions. And this is when we were kind of at high school, I remember this. And so, she'd gotten us through school, she'd bought and almost paid off the house and the car. So that stuff was kind of taken care of. And she was thinking more like, okay, when the kids leave home, how long do I need to keep working before I retire? How much money am I going to need to be able to live independently through retirement? And so, the super fund put on these education sessions, and she would go along and ask all the questions and listen and take notes, and really learn what were the things she needed to be doing to have enough money set aside. So she was doing things like salary sacrificing, and she was, being very mindful around how the money was invested so that she got the best return that she could within her risk appetite. So yeah, and she just made the most of what was free because she didn't have a lot of money spare to spend on lots of professionals. So it was like, okay, what can I do to educate myself? What resources are readily available to me? And then making sure she actually applied the learnings as well.
It's crazy, eh? Like just when there's so much like information has only really been around, like proper available information has only been around for like the last 20 years. Like before that, you had to find a random book at a library and hope that it was something that was going to be relevant or
Yeah.
what you wanted to learn. So it's insane. Who do you look up to in regards to money, business, and life? Who
Oh,
inspires?
big question. Big question. Business wise, I am a huge fan of Marie Forleo, mostly just because I love her attitude. Like, she's a bit of a boss, but she's like fun and playful and feminine and just really committed to living life by her own rules and just getting all the juice out of life that she can. So I really look up to her because I just love her attitude and would love to kind of emulate that with my own career. Money wise, I could name all the classics, but I think here in Australia, one of the ladies I admire the most would be Canna Campbell. She's written a couple of books. One is the $1,000 Project. The second is Mindful Money. And she's very similar to like the Barefoot Investor, but she's probably like the next level up in terms of technicality. Like Barefoot Investor, oh, love, got so much time and respect for him. He's really good at like your entry level, get you interested and excited about money with really simple practical guidance, and he does a great job. Canna's like a little bit more technical and just a little bit more into the detail around how to grow your wealth through investing and passive income. And I just like her because she walks her talk, and she wrote the $1,000 Project, which was a guide on like ways to find money to invest without that didn't come from your income and through inheritances or lottery wins kind of thing. And she did it herself when she was a single mom on a really tight budget. And I think maybe her portfolio now is around 230,000, and she's literally built that $1,000 at a time. She's got a big following of people who sort of apply her practices. So got heaps of respect for what she's created, and she was really early on the YouTube and the Instagram and socials, and just making financial education accessible from a really qualified, smart professional.
Okay, awesome. Great answers. So how has being financially literate empowered you? And if so, how? Like what has it done?
Yeah, I would say it has always given me agency. I knew very early when I like left school is that I wanted to go and live in the big city. I wanted to have a career. I wanted to be like self-reliant. And being financially literate enabled me, right from the get-go to know, well, okay, well, if you want to move to the city, rents are going to be higher there. Cost of living is going to be higher. So you're going to need a cash buffer to ensure that you can afford to do that. So it meant that I've, saved up money to move cities. I also saved up money to travel because that was really important to me. But then as I've moved through my career, it's also influenced me thinking about, okay, if you want to have a family, and I think this applies to everyone, but women in particular, because men can't physically have babies. So you're going to have, if you want to have a family, there will be some interruption in your career. And so that sort of made me really mindful of like the career choices I made to kind of optimize my seniority and the income that I was earning so I could build up personal wealth, but also give myself a lot of agency around my work choices. So that by the time I came to wanting to have start a family, that I would have a home that I owned and lived in, that I had, good financial resources so that I could have a lot of choice around medical care, childcare, what kind of work I did. Um, and I also did things like started investing and contributing to my super early so that taking time out to have a family wouldn't affect my retirement down the
Mm,
track, because I'd already put money aside to compensate for the time out that I was having. So
that forward planning, that's great.
a lot of forward planning. Clearly, I'm just painting a picture of what a bloody nerd I am. Um, but for me, having that knowledge, being able to make those choices, so it has meant sacrifice in some areas. Like, I've had a great life. I've done lots of travel, but I haven't done as much travel as I could have, because I was redirecting those funds to things that would give me more choice around life in the long term, which to me was more important and more meaningful.
Yeah,
Um, so yeah, so it's been really good in giving me agency around the trajectory that my life has followed, and giving me really choices. So, because like, I'm a girl who wants her cake and she's going to eat it too, and I kind of want that with life. I want lots of choice. I want lots of options, and so it's given me the information I need to make choices to ensure that I do have lots of options, which I'm really proud of.
yeah, yeah, that's good. And I guess like when you make those sacrifices, it might be like you don't get to do it in your 20s, but maybe then because you made that sacrifice throughout your 30s, you can travel like 3 months a year or, you know,
Oh, I
whenever.
plan to. Maybe it's more like my 40s or 50s, but
Yeah.
um, and that's the thing, is like, it's about planning a life that feels good for you. What I want and what's important to me is not going to be saying the same thing for the next person. And that is good. That is okay. That should be celebrated. What what is like really important is like you getting clear around what you want out of life, and then making a plan in order to make that life happen. And we have these lovely little phones in our pockets. We've got social media, we've got the world online, as well as like traditional TV and stuff. And always we're getting bombarded with messages around like what we should aspire to and what we should want. Most of it is just noise and rubbish. And if you can really kind of silence that, focus on what makes you happy, and then go about creating a life that reflects that, you are just going to have the best time.
Yeah, that's good. Like the phones are good, but they're also like um, an in the pocket salesman that can just attack you all day and try to make you buy things from them because everything you use is just targeted towards selling to you. So yeah. So what are your three biggest lessons that you would tell someone just starting off to or trying to financially better themselves?
Yeah. Oh, I feel like it's going to be the same as what I was saying about getting
Yeah.
started. But it's the like, really understand your money story, and like what are the habits you have around money, because we've all got really good ones that work well for us, but we've all got the inner sabotage, and it could be around impulse spending, it could be around fear, it could be around wanting to keep up with the Joneses, whatever it is for us. Um, we all have it, and it's not about eliminating it, but it's about dialing it down, and just being aware of it and so forth. So spending time really getting to understand what's your money mindset. And the funny thing about this is that that money mindset that we all have, most of it was kind of programmed by the time we were 7 years old. That's
Yeah,
research
I've
out of the.
heard this before and it blows my mind. Like I don't, I tried to think about it for a bit and I just don't understand how that even would work.
It's because when we're kids, we are little sponges. And even though we don't understand the world, we're observing and watching the world and then making sense of it in our own mind, which is why so many of us have really conflicted beliefs and behaviors around money, because we've like seen these different things out of context and then like made meaning of it in our mind as a 7-year-old.
Is that like our parents transacting, or is that just our parents doing things, and then those like, well,
Totally.
that's how this
Sorry.
activity relates to money or something? Like, is it related to money in general when you? spun like when you're soaking up that information, or is it related to other things, but then you believe it about money? You know.
It's a little bit of both. So it can be like a straight out money conversation, like, you know, your grandparents gave you $10 and you spent it all on lollies and you got in trouble from your parents for wasting money and you spending it on frivolous things, and that, you know, created a meaning and a message for you about
Yeah.
when you get money, what is good to spend it on and what's bad to spend it on. It could be observing conversations or um, arguments around money in your own family home. It could even just be hearing things of like, oh, you know, I wish we were like the Joneses. They have the best life because they're so rich. And then so we develop a meaning that if you are rich, you're happy and money buys you happiness or something like that. So it's all of these little incidences, moments, and stuff like that that we sort of start to learn and start to make meaning and start to develop patterns around money. And some of them might be really healthy, but some of them might be working against us. So it's just about observing them, understanding them, and if there are any that are working against you, reframing them with your logical, calm adult mind and putting them into practice.
Mhm.
Um, then the next thing is cash flow, because you can't invest, you can't create wealth if you don't have a good handle on your cash flow. The word budget gets a really bad name, and everyone kind of hears that word and kind of like gets a bit tense. They're like, oh no, all the fun's going to get sucked out of my life. So, and really, that's not it. I mean, it could be if that's how you want to budget, but like, who wants to not have any fun? Not me. I want to live my life and enjoy it. So, it's about creating a plan for when money comes in, what jobs does it have to do? Hopefully, it's got a job of building long term wealth, a job to pay your bills and financially adult, and then a job of having fun as well. And you've got a good balance around that. And then once you've got your mindset, your cash flow, you've got your goals, then it's around, okay, how do I multiply my money so that my money starts working for me so I don't have to work so hard and I get a little bit more choice about how I spend my time.
Yeah, those are great lessons, and I think it definitely shows that you do coaching for a living, because like they're just like encompass everything that you really need to think about when you're talking about money.
Thank you.
So why are you passionate about helping others with money?
I just want to help as many people as I can to enjoy a life where they have freedom, they get to, you know, do purposeful work, live a purposeful life, and enjoy prosperity. I mean, the fact that we're born here in Australia means we're already have won the life lottery. But you know, I know what a conduit, and it's not the only thing in life that matters, but certainly your ability to make, keep, and multiply money will drastically influence the kind of choices that you have in life, the level of freedom that you have. And, you know, it's a tool that we can all understand. It's a tool that we can all take control of. So I just want to help as many people to build those skills so they can do that for themselves, do that for their families, and enjoy the beauty of our life and not be trapped in situations, whether it's a, a relationship that's really toxic that they can't afford to leave, whether it's a job that they don't love and isn't, you know, making them feel like they're spending their time well, whether it's, you know, wanting to be able to provide their family with education and experiences. I want them to have those choices. So that's why I'm really passionate around financial education and empowerment, because
Yeah,
I just think it makes such a big difference.
for sure, 100%. I think like when if someone's better with their money and they have more choices, they will do something that they love, and then if they do something that they love, they're going to be better members of society as well, because they get to do something that they're really passionate about and they're going to put everything into it. So like
Yeah.
people being better with money means that you get like a massive sort of yeah, I don't
Yeah.
know how to put it, but like just a cycle of change or cycle of influence.
That's it. It really it has like little ripple effects and this collective kind of elevation in terms of well-being, happiness, positive contribution to society. Like it's all good stuff.
Yeah,
And you know, a lot of us kind of grow up with the mindset that there's not enough for everyone, but it's rubbish. There's enough money to go around. And it's not about getting as much money as you can. It's having enough to live the life that you desire and you need. And the funny thing is, for most of us, when we actually sit down and articulate, like, what do we really want and what really matters to us, for most of us, it doesn't actually take that much money. It's not about becoming, a gazillionaire, Jeff Bezos of the world. Most of us don't need that much money to live a meaningful, happy, safe, secure life with lots of choice.
For
It's
sure.
which is exciting because it's like even more accessible.
I think once you change mindset and you realize, like, being comfortable with not having everything is like the secret to having more. And I know that's cliche because everyone says that, but like once you feel content, then you are content. You don't need more. So then that
Yeah.
desire to keep chasing, I guess, diminishes.
Yeah, and it means that like it doesn't mean that you stop being ambitious or aspiring for more. It just means that you're not caught in that trap of not enoughness. It means
Mm,
that like you can reach the point of like I have everything I need, and then it's uh it's like a pleasurable pursuit if you want to aspire for more, and it comes from a place of um a much more positive place of abundance and wanting to kind of, just dial it up a notch rather than this scarcity, desperation, need to, not enough place, if
mm,
that makes sense. It's just a real paradigm shift. And like, I remember the first time my husband and I sat down and like just really, really got to the crux of like, what were the fundamental things we wanted most out of life? And and then like what was like cream, what was like dressings, what was like the little sprinklings on top, and the key fundamental stuff that was really important to our happiness, a lot of it wasn't even related to money, and then the stuff that was related to money was really achievable. And so then that was like, oh my god, we're like almost already living the
yeah.
life that we desire, and then everything else on top is cream. And like that shift in mentality and that happiness that brought us, we were like, we're happy now.
Yeah.
Which is a
I
great
didn't even look at it.
yeah.
Yeah, that's awesome. So yeah, three practical things, I guess, for the audience now. But what are your three favorite books about business life or money, or all of them in one?
Yeah, I mean, it's like trying to pick my favorite children. Um, One I really enjoyed recently was The Psychology of Money by Morgan Housel.
Yep.
Um, it's a relatively new book, but it's been exceptionally popular. He's sold over 1 million copies.
Mm.
Um, you can like find him on LinkedIn, listen to his podcast, which I kind of love because so many books were written like decades ago by old dead white dudes. And whereas this one, is someone that's like living here and now. And he's just a really good storyteller. And he again speaks so much to like how money is so much more than math and logic. Like we like to think that we behave really logically with money. And, if we just do the sums, we'll make the money and it all works out. And whilst that's important, so much of it comes down to the way that we think and feel about money and the way we behave with money, and that's our psychology. So that's an excellent book. It's a pretty short read. It's got lots of good storytelling in it. I think he divides it into like, I can't remember how many lessons, maybe like 17 little insights. So you can just read it like a bit at a time.
Yeah.
Second one I like, obviously, Canna Campbell, The Mindful Money, just because it's Australian and it's a very practical step-by-step guide to building up enough passive income so that you have the ultimate flex and freedom in your life and get to choose how much you work, how much you pursue personal pursuits. Like, so I think that's an excellent book, and it's, like I said, very practical. And then the other one I quite like was going to be a little bit of a curveball. Another Australian book, two female authors. It's called The Joy of Money. And I like it because it just reframes, particularly for women, the association with money of it, being something that's scarce, something that's hard, something that's intimidating. No, there's so much joy to be associated with money. And when you take care of your money, it takes care of you. And again, it's another really practical guide, again, sort of tailored to the ladies who have been traditionally quite overlooked in the world of finance. giving them really good cause and tips and guidance on how to really engage with your money, take care of it, and use it as a tool to give you the freedom and purpose and prosperity that you want out of life. So they're my three.
Nice. I haven't read the last one, but sounds good.
It's good. Yeah, it's an Aussie book, and it's funny. Every chapter has a soundtrack to it. Which is kind of just like a fun way of doing it. But yeah, I remember one of them is like Queen, I Want to Break Free. I enjoyed
Oh, is it
that.
on my audio book?
So I haven't listened to the audio book. I've literally got it here. Hang on. So here's the book, The Joy of Money. And then, yeah, every chapter's got like a soundtrack to it. So like there's one with where it's taught the chapter's like Be Sassy, and the song is RESPCT by Aretha Franklin. I don't know. It just gives it another vibe.
Yeah, that's awesome. And do they have their own playlist on Spotify?
I don't even know. I'm gonna have to find out. I'm sorry. Maybe I'll check it out. I'll let you know.
Be convenient, you have to type in each time.
Yeah.
So we're coming down to the last two questions. So if you could have a sign on the Harbour Bridge for 1 month, what would you tell people to do?
Take care of your money and it'll take care of you.
Nice. Awesome. And what are you most excited about going into the future?
Well, this year I have stepped into being completely self-employed. So I've always had a coaching practice. Well, I say always, for the last 4 years, which was really a passion project in addition to my executive roles within finance. But the opportunity came along late last year for me to kind of do it full time. And I thought, you know what, if not now, when? And yeah, I've rebranded my coaching practice to the Inner Money Journey, and am just having so much fun working with individuals and couples one-on-one to really help them understand and make the most out of their money, and just become really financially empowered and excited about their lives. So that's bringing me a lot of joy. And then the other thing that I'm really aspiring to do is to become a financial educator and communicator here in Australia. And I've recently landed a couple of partnerships, which is a little bit too soon for me to talk about, but hopefully will be out in the open soon. But being an ambassador for a really fantastic ethical bank here in Australia, helping support their clients improve their financial education. I'm working with a media company to do some programs and to do some online courses with them. So that's giving me a huge buzz as well, because I just want to get people more engaged with their finances, particularly when we're going through such a challenging time. We get really stressed by the things that we can't control. We can't control interest rates. We can't control, inflation. But what we can control is our goals, our cash flow, where we're spending our money. There's a lot more within our realm of control than we realize, and that's the stuff that's going to bring us calm. So,
Awesome. Sounds very exciting. Got heaps on, but that's good.
yeah.
Thanks for joining me. It was great to chat to you.
Thanks for having me, Jack, and good luck with your business as well. Go get it.
Thanks.
No worries.